We are visiting the village of Albright. We're going to have a great day. It's great weather, great time. Visiting the 16th century. And there's lots of fun. The festival is going on. We're celebrating with jugglers, fire eaters, comedians, storytellers. Queen Elizabeth is here, and she's looking for a husband. The Louisiana Renaissance Festival started 7 years ago. It did. It came here. I drug it here with me from my travels abroad when I was in the military, and I came back and I said, let's start a Renaissance Festival. So we started a Renaissance Festival, and that's how we got started.
And that red-headed queen, isn't she hot? And there's no snow.
No snow no more.
No snow never no more. Love this warm, friend fair weather. Snow never no more. And it's back home to Bristol in the summertime. Sing my songs in the shade. Shade is sublime. Who likes the shade?
I do.
Me too. Yes, the thunders and lightnings, sometimes it can pour. Not today. And we fight off the mosquitoes, but all that we'll ignore where there's no snow.
No snow no more.
And snow never no more. Love this warm, friend fair weather. Snow never no more.
When they come here, they can see we have lions, and we have jugglers and comedians and fire eaters and storytellers and singing witches, singing pirates, singing lasses, lots of music, variety of musical instruments, and real jousting and falconry. You can't see that everywhere.
This is called a lute, L-U-T-E, and it was the most popular instrument in medieval and Elizabethan, certainly England. In fact, during the time of Elizabeth, the lute was so popular that barbers are said to have kept them on the walls of their places to give their people something to do while waiting for their next haircut. Yes, it's a lute. It's an ancestor of the guitar. Out of the 8 courses, 6 of them are just like a guitar, but the lute has 8. Yeah, so it's a little bit more expansive than a lute. I enjoy the most meeting the people, I'd say. Yeah, I meet so many beautiful ladies. The lute, of course, is an instrument of love, and so I get to sing love songs to some of the most beautiful women in the world. There is a lady, and she is sweet, and she is kind. 'Twas ne'er a face on earth so pleased our minstrel's mind. When I saw the lady that was passing by, I fell in love with her until I died. With her graceful motion, her smile, her eyes, those winning looks could make any lawyer burn his library of books. I touched her not, alas, not I, yet I shall love her till I die.
You guys are here to see a reenactment of an actual joust, a medieval, mid-century joust. This is the real thing. These guys are really hitting each other with these sticks. This is completely real jousting. What I'm doing here is I'm a squire, which basically means I'm a servant of a knight. I take care of his horse. I put his armor on and off. I take the armor on and off the horses. I set up everything out here for the jousts themselves. I basically do a lot of behind-the-scenes work. The knights are the actors. We're just the crew backstage making everything get off to a good start. Jousting back in the medieval ages or mid-ages came around because knights between wars needed a way to practice, to train. And these were basically friendly competitions that knights came together under, usually a sovereign would be there, a king or queen, sometimes just at a festival in a small town, come from around and just help each other to train. And sometimes towards later mid-century it got a little more bloody. Really started being large competitions, people started coming, and eventually jousting was actually outlawed because knights, these are the tanks of the war. These are the biggest things in a king's arsenal, so you can't really have them up there hurting each other all the time. This is real steel armor. This is one suit of armor is about 200 pounds. These guys are lugging around 200 pounds on their backs. It protects them from all the blows they get. And this is real stuff. A lot of the armor you can see is dented from the blows against it. But it'll protect you from pretty much anything. They can take a jackhammer to it.
What do you enjoy the most about doing this?
There's a lot of loyalty involved. You know, I've been working for these guys for a long time. I love every second of it. Just being out here, being in front of these people, trying to bring the history to today. You know, just to show these people what it was really like. You know, history is a big part of my life. I love it, and being out here being able to show this is it's a thrill. You know, it's just a high being out there when the show gets going. A lot of adrenaline starts pumping.
At one time, these birds were literally worth a king's ransom. When King Richard the Lion-Hearted was returned back to England after his long capture, part of the ransom payment was 2 white-eared falcons from the north. We're going to start off with a beautiful bird from the New World and have her fly on out here. Come on, beautiful lady. This lovely girl's named Tabasco. Tabasco is a Harris hawk, a resident of the desert southwest. When you visit these birds in their desert environment, you will notice that they utilize just about any perch they can find. Then we even sit on cactus and at times each other's shoulders. When they sit on each other's shoulders, we call that behavior laddering. When birds of prey, the female is the larger and more powerful of the two genders. She protects the nest and young. Her smaller, more agile mate will catch the smaller and more easily digested prey items for the baby birds of prey to eat. And we call all it baby birds of prey Isis. Ready to come back, pretty girl? Come on in. There we go. Let's see if we can get her fly back in. Let's see if we can get her fly right back into your mouth. Ready to kettle up? There she goes, everyone. There he is, everyone. Hi, Newton. And if you listen very carefully when our Newton calls, he does not hoot. Barn owls make a variety of noises other than hoots, which make them responsible for a lot of the hauntings in the old buildings that they occupy. Unfortunately, the barn owl is declining in numbers in the wild. Our farming practices have changed. The old barns and silos, which are ideal for them to hunt from and nest in, are being torn down. This is a legitimate insurance risk. Wise farmers and landowners realize the rodent control value of these birds. They are putting up nest boxes and perching platforms for owls to hunt from. One pair of barn owls in the springtime was observed bringing 23 mice to the nest in a 1.5 hour period.
What I'm doing is talking about the art of falconry, which is a 4,500-year-old field sport used for procuring food for the table. Later on became a social lubricant like golf is today.
Tell us a little bit about the birds we've seen.
Well, what I've shown you is mainly birds from the New World. We have the Harris hawk, which is a wonderful falconry bird. They hunt in groups. It's the only species that does so on a regular basis. This is the barred owl I'm holding here. We have a peregrine falcon, a European kestrel, the wonderful red-tailed hawk, and our sweet, personable barn owl.
What was the role of falconry during medieval times?
Well, mainly to procure food for the table, but it also became a form of social, what you would call, people would mingle. It was a way of socializing. The upper classes would socialize, and how you kind of judge someone's character by the way they play the golf game nowadays. They were used in falconry in the field instead. They were exchanged as diplomatic gifts. In fact, decisions of state and even wars were won or lost over a field of falcons.
Tell us a little bit about how you train the birds.
Well, I'll start with the owl here. They're a little more easily distracted, but it's basically what you call positive reinforcement. When they do something right, you give them a treat or something that they like. And this is an old training technique that we finally rediscovered.
What kind of response do you have from people at festivals such as this?
Well, the first thing they want to do is see the birds. They don't get to see these wonderful birds up close. They only get to see them from a distance. So they get to see that they have a lot of personality, and they're just beautiful to look at and beautiful to watch.
Tell us a little bit about how he can rotate his head.
Well, birds have an extra bone in their neck. All birds can actually rotate their necks this way, but owls are famous for it because their bodies stay perfectly still and they rotate their head. It looks very mechanical. And this is how they hunt. They listen with their ears, which are behind the eye, the ear tuft here, right behind the eye, and they rotate their head to listen to what's going on around them.
Tell us how rare these birds are.
They're not really rare, but they're not common either. They're secretive and very quiet animals, so they're around more than you think. There's actually hawks and owls living in New York City, in Central Park.
What about the peregrine falcon?
Peregrine falcon was in dire straits 35 years ago, but now is doing extremely well. They are actually better than historic numbers because they've adapted to the urban environment, hunting pigeons and starlings off of skyscrapers in large cities.
What do you enjoy the most about this?
I enjoy working with the birds. I enjoy showing people how wonderful the birds are.